Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Pythonic Accountant. Today we're going to have some fun and take a look at how to get stock data from the web. So this one's a little bit more around finance, but definitely applicable in accounting, especially if you're doing any accounting work that requires getting stock prices for, valuation of stocks for financial reporting. But also really applicable if you're doing any kind of finance work or even just, dabbling in the stock market. So we're going to take a look at two libraries today. One is called yfinance, which makes it really easy to get stock data from Yahoo Finance. And the other one's actually a fun little data visualization. So we get a little bonus here and get to see some data viz called Altair. There is actually a huge amount of different libraries you can use in Python for data visualization. And Altair is one that I really like. So first, if you have been following along in the previous videos, you should have several other things that are required for this one installed. But two things that we will also need are yfinance and Altair. So to get yfinance, you'll have to make sure you're already in your environment. And as you can see, I'm already activated in my env. And I'm going to pip install yfinance. That should just take a second to download that one. And then now we're going to conda install altair. And that should just take a second to download this one. Yes. And then we're going to activate our Jupyter Notebook, our Jupyter Lab. So once we're in the Jupyter Lab, I'm going to open this up in my Chrome. And first, I want to show you, this is the documentation. Well, not necessarily documentation. This is a kind of the PyPI site that gives you information about the yfinance, and it gives you a few examples of how to get started. So I'm not going to go into all the details of what this library can do, but as you can see here, you can get a lot of really rich information about stock history and transactions. So let's go over and kick off a Jupyter Notebook. And we'll call this one stocks. So let's go ahead and import yfinance as yt. And we're also going to import altair and pandas. Actually, we might not even need pandas for this one. Let's see. Let's just import altair as alt. And now in one line, I love this. We're going to grab the last 5 years of stock transaction information for Apple. So data equals yf.download. We want AAPL. And period equals 5y. And oops, I imported this as yt, but it should have been yf. Now this should work. And done. That was very quick. Let's see how many records we're talking about here. There's 1,257 records, and here's the first 5, and you can see it's going from oldest to newest. So this is from 12/22 of 2014, and it gives you the open, the high, the low, the close, adjusted close, and the volume. Let's look at the last 5 days, and here we have the last 5 days. Very cool, including yesterday. So very nice. So this is in a pandas data frame format, so you can do many of the other things that you can do in pandas, such as info, and you can, this doesn't really tell us that much because we already knew what fields we had and how many values there are. But now what we can do is, if we wanted to actually grab data from a certain date, for example, let's say, let's see tail again. So since the date is actually in the index, we can use something called the dataframe.loc in order to look up the data. So let's say we wanted to look up 12/31/2018. I don't even know if that was a weekend or a weekday. Is the market even open on New Year's? Probably. Let's check a look. And yeah, let's see if it was open that day. So we're going to do data.loc, and then okay, we do need pandas here. I'll show you why in a second. Import pandas as PD. So this is an index that's in actually a date time format. I already know that. You might not know that just by looking at it. But the nice thing about datetime format is you can actually do date calculations and math on dates. So we have to do pd.datetime, and we're looking for 2018 12/31, and that's going to give us the results. It's in the kind of exponential format, so it's not super easy to read. So let's say we just want the close. So I'm just going to do .close, and there you have it. Apple closed at 157.74 on the last day of 2018. So here's where the cool part comes in. I'm going to show you some data visualization with this. So let's use Altair. I'm going to build a very simple little chart. We're going to call this price, and we're going to take a look at the last 5 years of data that we have above in this data frame, and see what it looks like on a chart with date as the x-axis, and let's put close as the y-axis. So we'll do price equals alt.chart data dot, and we have to reset the index here because it doesn't play well with the index. We're going to make the date an actual date column. So date dot data dot reset index dot mark line dot encode. This isn't something that you'll necessarily know. I've done enough of these that I've kind of memorized this. But it's actually a really nice library, and once you get used to it, you notice there's really not much you have to do to create a nice visualization. So now all we have to do is encode the data. So I'm going to create the x-axis is going to be the date column, and that's a time. The y-axis I want to be close, and let's add a tooltip. And so when you hover your mouse over it, it'll give you whatever information we want here. So let's give it date, open, close, high, low, and let's grab the volume. And let's see. And then let's add some properties here just to make the width exactly as we want it. So properties, it comes standard fine, but I like to sometimes make it exactly the right size. Width equals 600, height equals 200, and then let's see what that looks like. Cool. So now we have a chart. This is stock history from last 5 years for Apple, and you can hover your mouse over it and get the all the information on any individual day. And just for kicks, I had actually pulled up the Apple stock price from Google search, and you can see that looks pretty similar if you take a look at the chart up here versus our chart down here. So pretty nice. Let's actually have some fun here and add the volume in as well as a little, sometimes you'll see volume in a separate chart below. So I'm going to do that here. Let's do volume equals alt.chart data.reset index mark line encode x equals, and this is going to be date again, and y this time is going to equal volume, and let's again change the properties, same width equals 600, and let's make the height shorter. We don't really need to see as much detail. Let's do height equals 60. And then in order to put these one on top of the other, I'm going to do price and volume. And there you go. Now you've got the relative volume compared to the price up here. So pretty cool. One other thing you can do with these charts, it's a little bit too much detail to really get to see here. What we could do is change this, instead of the individual date, we could do it as like the year and the month. So we could do year, month, date, and then grab the mean of the close. And let's do the same thing for the volume. Let's do year, month, date, and mean of the volume. And that looks kind of funky. I don't know if that was right, but I think it's still interesting. So I'd play around with this if to get it exactly right. Definitely seems a little strange. What if I just do close, if that works? Yeah, who knows. Let's go back to how it was before. So one thing I also wanted to show, and this is kind of cool, now that we have this all set up, if we wanted to change this to a different stock ticker, say like Microsoft, all you got to do is this, download it, and then the rest is already done. Now you have a nice chart showing Microsoft stock price for the last 5 years. So, you know, this is the visualization piece. I guess the one last thing I'll show you is, since our data is in a pandas data frame, it's now in a format we can easily export. So if you're going to do some kind of analysis where you need this in Excel, you can just do data.to, CSV is even easier. So CSV, msft.csv, and now it's exported to a CSV file, and it should show up right there. Perfect. And that's what it looks like. So you can open this up in Excel. I've opened this up within the Jupyter Lab because it nicely shows CSV files. But now you could take this and you can pull into whatever else you need to. If you have an Excel file, or if you have some other software where you need stock data. So, you know, as you can see, with just, you know, honestly, one line of code, you're able to get the data for whatever time period you want for whatever stock, and then with one more line of code you can extract it to a CSV file. So hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, click like. If you want to keep up with these, click on the subscribe, and feel free to provide any comments if you have any feedback or suggestions for other things for me to show. Have a good one. Talk to you later.